Well, all right. Oh my gosh, we're back to back today. Lois Kofi here, guys. So excited on this beautiful Friday to be able to share with you guys an amazing episode. You guys are in for a treat. This is going to be a longer than normal episode. I know I haven't been doing Friday episodes all the time. I've cut back, and I'm only bringing you the best of the best guests to help you create your best health, your best wealth, whatever that means for you, through your best wisdom. And that's why I'm bringing my guest back today, actually. He's got lots of wisdom to share. And we have had you on here twice. So you're my first three-peater. You're my first
Wow.
trifecta. It's yeah, you must be holding the holy grail here. So I don't even know that I'll ever do that again. And also Franco Romero, he's got so much knowledge. He wrote the best-selling, or was it a best-selling book? The Closet
Yes, it was.
Spiritualist.
Top
Awesome.
10.
Top 10. Woo!
Yay.
So he wrote the book, The Closet Spiritualist. He's writing another book now. He's gonna be in a documentary. I hope it was okay that I shared that. He's
No, I'm excited.
owner of Nourish, an amazing company, superfoods, protein. I've used it. So he's all about health, wealth, and wisdom. And he's also my spiritual mentor who has helped me and my husband also through this awakening process that's happening. Did you know there was an awakening happening, Franco?
No, tell me about it, Lois, because I have no idea. I must have missed the memo on that one.
So today we're going to talk about whatever comes through that will help you guys, my audience, my tribe, my connections to better understand what's happening in the world right now. So Franco, I'm going to let you take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Three-peat, I am so honored that I have had the chance to be on your show 3 times in about 18 months. Considering how we started, I was surprised to even have had 18 seconds with you, much less, three opportunities to talk to you and your tribe about all the amazing things that are happening and how it affects them both personally as well as in all aspects of their lives, which I know a lot of them tune into you to get so much wisdom and knowledge about how to be successful within the definition of your podcast there, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. And so I love the way that you are now sort of handling that broad definition of those 3, because there's so much more to it now than ever before. And people are so lucky, I think, to be happy and to be tapping into you as a coach for them to understand this much, much better so they can be happier and successful. So, I could go into a little bit of my background, but I think a lot of people probably know who I am. And for those who don't, I will just simply tell them that I am a clairvoyant. Some people would consider that to be kind of like a channeler. See, I can't even say that. So I'm going to stick with clairvoyant, okay? I channel higher consciousness. And that was as a result of a near-death experience that I had when I was a little boy that caused me to open up to all of these incredible extrasensory gifts that we all share and have, and that we are all going to very soon experience. And so I'm just, in a sense, kind of a messenger right now and helping people to realize what they already are. And I was fortunate enough to hook in with you through a mutual friend. And since then, the world has opened up for both of us in ways that we have never or could have ever imagined it could. So thank you again for having me. So let's fire away. Let's go.
Yeah, I would like to, and I know you've got some guidance on this, but what I would like to, just to kind of like set the stage. And just before I do that, just a reminder for you guys who are tuning in, please hit the share button. Sharing is caring, whether you're watching us on LinkedIn, YouTube, any of my Facebook communities. This is going to be a big one for a lot of people because there's, Franco, as you know, there's been a humdinger of energy.
Yes.
moving through. September, you helped me process through some stuff. This week I've been processing through another doozy. And I know I've talked to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people locally, but globally on a regular basis. And everybody's feeling it. People are losing jobs. People are breaking up. People are losing their minds. People are feeling cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and they don't know why.
Wow.
So
I hope people know what that means, Cocoa Puffs, because yeah, that goes back a little bit.
I have some over here if you need me to remind you. My daughter ate that for breakfast.
Love it. Love it.
So maybe can you explain through your channel, through your spiritual knowledge and understanding, and this is what he's guys been helping me now for 18 months, so that I could live my best health, my best wealth, my best wisdom. I've lost 30 pounds, have an amazing marriage, amazing home, different perspective on wealth and abundance than ever before. That brought me back to my truth. So just saying, this stuff is better than any tactic I could tell you. It's good stuff. So take it away, Franco. Please share.
Okay, so first and foremost, what I want to explain to the folks who are listening is that this particular conversation is going to be a little different than in the past. And even Lois doesn't know this because I'm actually going to allow the higher consciousness that I speak to come through a lot more than they usually do. And it's actually not that I told them to, or it's that they want to. So that's kind of neat because when that happens, it gets a little bit deeper, but you'll probably sense, at least you, Lois, a change in the energy a little bit. There might even be some different mannerisms. I don't even know because I usually don't do this very often. And yet they really want to express themselves more to those that are listening. So one of the things that they wanted to, so their name is Caleb, and that's really irrelevant because it's just a name that was given to give them some sort of a human identity for us to understand this concept a little bit better. But they come in multiple shapes and sizes and forms and voices. Okay, it's not just one voice that typically comes through. So I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of a preface here because I haven't even done this with Lois much at all. So what happens is that I pick up a ton of frequencies, a ton. I mean, it's like a massive chat room. Okay. And so, and there are multiple conversations going on because it's not just with me that they're having conversations with, but they're also having conversations with so many people directly around the world and around the universe. It's like a massive conversation. So occasionally a certain aspect of that frequency will tune in. And so in this particular case, the frequency that I often talk to, that I really kind of define as Caleb, is the one that is really very strong right now. And so that's the one that's coming through very, very clearly. So occasionally you're going to see me do this. So just bear with me, all right? Because I normally don't do this. And you know this, Lois. I usually just kind of let it come through me because it's so natural now that I don't have to go into a deep state of channeling in order to bring in their messages. But this is actually a little bit different because okay, so hello. Okay. They're saying hello, hello, hello. All right. This is very, very, very strange to me. Okay. But we want to explain to you how things operate right now. Okay. Right now, humanity is going through a very unique time that hasn't been experienced in what you call this Earth School. Okay. And this Earth School is coming to an end. And so the energies that you're experiencing is what some would call the resurrection of the soul. But we don't want you to view it in any religious context. You're all waking up, and we are here to help you wake up. So understand that everything that you call losing is actually you are regaining. When something is lost, you are shedding the third dimensional energies. You are in actuality receiving new energies because you are energy. You have always been energy. Don't confuse that with who you think you are, which is this body. Okay, so we're going to actually talk to you about manifestation, which is something that we normally do not try to talk to people about this early in their evolution because they don't understand it within the context of how we understand it. So we're going to try to really simplify this for you so that you understand that you are manifesting all the time, all the time. And that when you claim that you are losing your mind and all these things, you are actually, when something is lost, it's never lost. It is just put aside to something that is much higher in frequency. And that is where you are now. All of humanity is. Now, this may sound strange for some of you because you came to Lois for other types of guidance, but understand that the guidance that you now need will help you to be successful as a spiritual being, not as a human being. And that is who you are. When Franco died and passed on in his near-death experience, he was able to see that reality more than others, more than most of you. But you have all died in your previous lives and are now here to celebrate what you would call the resurrection of the spirit, which is just simply the awakening of consciousness and to evolve into something much greater. And you are now at a point where you must choose, because there is free will, to experience that higher level. Otherwise, you will be stuck chasing your tail and trying to accomplish things through the old paradigm of how you achieve manifestation. Is that clear to you?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you said a couple words that I'm just curious if people might not know. Are you
Yes,
okay
feel free.
explaining 3D energies and
Yes, feel free. What would you like to know?
What are 3D energies? What does that mean?
3D energy is the energy that we all exist in right now. We are here in the same 3D energy as you are. And we exist in this 3D energy to understand or to remember who we are. So 3D energy is simply a way to, as God, as expressions of God, we are here to remember who we are. All of us are here to remember ourselves, that we are divinity, an expression of God. And the only way to do that is in the third dimension. In the third dimension, it is a game. It is a playful game where you come down and experience contrast, physical contrast. You see, we're going to put this in the perspective of heaven and earth. Okay, the place you call heaven is a multidimensional field of consciousness. It is not necessarily a physical field, although it will feel that way if you so desire it to be. But it is a multidimensional infiniteness of consciousness. And that aspect of consciousness knows itself to be love, knows itself to be joy, knows itself to be what we would call peace and freedom, limitlessness. And yet, with everything, it needs to have an experience of contrast in order to have a point of reference. So, in other words, when we come down here in third dimensional energy, we create this playground, this game, so that we can express ourselves and learn what we are not so that we can appreciate what we are. Does that make sense? Third dimensional energy is just the lowest form of frequency that allows itself to break itself down to the point where it becomes matter. But if you look deeply into matter, you will see that all matter is just space, and space is simply energy. And in fifth dimensional frequency, there is a fourth dimensional frequency. So I don't know if there are people who are listening here, okay, there are people that may not understand what fourth dimensional frequency is.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth dimensional frequency is where we are awakened to who we are. It's all different stages of awakening. By the way, they just stepped off for a second. They want me to explain this in simpler terms, which is why they don't want. They want to. They want to step away because oftentimes what happens is that this is what happens when I write a book. This is what happens when I try to explain things to people. Is that it's hard to translate their energies because they're so far in a sense they're so far advanced that they and their language is so different than ours. There is no language. It's all frequency. So it takes time to interpret it. So I just felt them just move apart, move away. And so they're like, you take over just for a little bit because we know that they need to understand this more simply. Okay. So I'm going to try to do this back to me. Sorry, folks. Maybe you guys will like that or not.
It's okay.
All right. So what I've been telling people is that when we came down here, we have soul contracts. And I think a lot of people know this intuitively, but they don't necessarily know what it means. You know, we've been given so much conditioning with, let's call it dogma, that we don't really know what's up and what's down, what's left and what's right. And basically, regardless of what religious persuasion or not that you might have been raised in, we all come from the same ilk. So what we call God or source is literally what others would call their higher self. Okay. And we don't understand that when we're praying or asking of something, and this gets into a little bit of the manifestation piece of this, we are literally asking ourselves how to or what we desire. And that's the irony of it all, is that we assume that we're kind of asking something way out there. But in actuality, everything is within us already. So third dimensional energy is literally just a holographic game that allows us to come in as a spiritual being into an avatar body and experience everything that is contrast. Because in contrast, what they've said to me is that everything that is contrast has a reference point. So let's say you struggle with money and you've always had a hard time acquiring money. Okay. Wealth, abundance, let's call it that. Okay. The reality is, and we say, well, we don't know how to accumulate that. We don't know how to make that become a reality. And yet the irony is that you do, because you have to know, you have to experience poverty in order to create the contrast of it. Or let me explain it this way. You have to know abundance. You have to be abundance in order to create poverty. Mm-hmm. You have to create fear in order to understand love or to be love. Everything that you are when you leave this body, everything, and you are basically everything that's completeness. It's called absolute. You have it, but you don't know how to express it because you haven't been able to put yourself in an environment, in a game of energy that allows you to see the contrast of it.
Can I interrupt? Is it okay if I interrupt really quick? Because I just finished that 5-day Heal Your Relationship with Money challenge. And it was very powerful. Like, I even had stuff come up this week for me to experience it on this earth school, to remind me, my higher self, reminding me of that experience so that I can also like let it go, right? That duality, because I've made multiple six figures and then I've lost multiple six figures. Everything happens for a reason is kind of what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, everything does happen for a reason, but the reason that it's happening is because you've created that challenge for yourself.
Yeah.
You have asked yourself, you knew coming into this world that one of the challenges you wanted to experience and get over was this whole idea of losing and having and losing and having and losing, because you never lose anything. You're simply just moving it aside to something much greater. And everything that you lose is actually not really lost. It's just like a foundation for you to build upon. In other words, you cannot, and I want to step back because I want people to understand something, that whether they can grasp this concept or not, they are expressions of God. They are God. Okay. There is no separation of ourselves with this thing we call God or the higher self. We are all here to experience ourselves as God with all of these contrasts. Now, in the old game, and I write about this in the book. In the old game, all it was just experiencing ourselves in contrast so that we could grow as God. So that when we went to this place called heaven, we had this utopic experience that was based off of every desire that we created while we were in the third dimension. All right. But now it's beyond that. And this is why people are struggling so hard. And one of the things that they wanted to make clear as we talk about manifestation is that the things that we do now that we think are going to help us to manifest more money or manifest more love or manifest whatever, those things don't work anymore or are going to become obsolete in the world that is coming. And you say, well, what does that mean? It means that even in the things that we see now, if we kind of expand our mind a little bit and go into the sciences, we're starting to see that the sciences are starting to validate that consciousness is more than just something that they thought was created in the mind. It's actually something that maybe the mind was created within consciousness. And when you do that, it becomes more of a, for a layman's perspective, it becomes a technology. And so we hear about technology advancements, and really what we're seeing right now is very trivial. The technology advancements that are coming, the ones that are coming really within the next 10 years, are going to all be driven by our consciousness. Every one of us, even those that might be listening, go, well, that's ridiculous. I don't have any clue as to what this is all about. Much less be able to create my reality through consciousness. But the reality of the reality is that you're creating it already. You're everything that you're doing right now, every thought that you have, every emotion that you have, every way that you express that emotion is creating the reality of your existence. You're just not aware of it. And when you get to the fourth dimension and you start getting exposed to all of this high level awareness, where you start to wonder, okay, am I really who I think I am? Oh my gosh, I think I'm more than this. And some people go off and they get into these, what actually, it's not what I call them, it's what Caleb calls sort of delusional stages of awareness, where they forget that they're here for a purpose. We're all here for a purpose. And they start floating around in what we call the multiverse and multidimensional realities, and they forget that yeah, that's all well and good, but they're here to manifest things, and the manifestation is this new world, a new world of abundance, and that's not 100 or 200 years away. It's actually within our grasp right now. It's happening right now, which is why, as you pointed out, you're having all of these issues. You're struggling with all of this ebb and flow and back and forth and up and down because you're struggling to let go of that third dimensional stuff, which is why, oh, here they come, which is why they really want people to understand that it's okay to sort of review your past, but don't live in your past. Don't live in the hardships that you had. Okay. Don't live in the victimization that you have experienced. Because if you do that, you're just going to keep continuing that cycle over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And in the fourth dimensional energies that are here now, and people will go, oh, that's a bunch of crap. No, there's actually measurements, scientific measurements to show that the global energy of our planet is actually rising, and it's rising at an exponential rate now. and quantum physics and things like astrophysics and neuroplasticity and advanced geometry and all these mathematics, they all have the same sort of assumptions and theories, and they all claim that we are now evolving much faster into something that, well, what they don't really understand is that we're evolving back into what we've always been. So the next few years for people who are trying to succeed with whatever they're trying to do, and let's put it in perspective of a business, okay?
Yeah.
If they're trying to succeed in their business and they have all of these fear-based notions that they still maintain, sort of some of them, sometimes they use those to either knock themselves down or to drive them. But understand that there is no more driving with that fear. You cannot drive anywhere in the fourth, much less the fifth dimension. And the fifth dimension is just a broader energy. It's what's called the true, as they were trying to explain, the true resurrection of who you are. You're no longer going to be just this little peon person that thinks that they don't have any contribution to humanity. They're just struggling from day to day. There's a passage, and I'm actually going to be doing a conversation with somebody that about this particular piece, which is called the meek shall inherit the earth. And a lot of people who are of the Christian faith will know what I'm talking about, or at least have heard about this expression. But this expression is written throughout all of humanity, throughout all of civilization. And what they don't understand is that it isn't because we've been taught to believe that the meekness has to do with our penance, with our suffering, with having to go through the trials and tribulations in order to prove to ourselves that we're worthy of something. But what we're doing, and that gets into business, we have to beat ourselves to death to try to achieve a goal. We work 60 hours a week. We do it X, Y, and Z way, or otherwise it's not going to work. And those kind of approaches just don't work as much anymore. And you've been seeing this shift now in the last 3 years as a result of what you will call it COVID, but it's not COVID. That was a stream of energy that came in the year 2019. At the end of that year, that stream was a heightened level of fourth dimensional awareness, where people were going to be forced to sit down and look within themselves to become aware of who they really are and what they truly desire. And that has changed everything. And we thought that could never be possible. How could humanity stop everything? But what it's taught us is that you had a whole mass exodus of people leaving their jobs, not just people getting fired, not just, it was the whole, what is it called? The Great Resignation all over the world, because people are realizing that they're much more than what they have been taught to believe. They're not just cogs in a machine. And so for people who are succeeding, for people who are trying to understand even what you're trying to teach them, Lois, is that they have to go inward now. There's nothing out there that can drive who you are in terms of your happiness. There's nothing that you can do out here other than to distract yourself to understand that pure abundance, the success that you want to have, the joy, the passion, the inspiration that you want to achieve in your life is all in here now. And it's not just a bunch of words. It's not just a hokey pokey kind of, let's kind of hold hands and figure this out. It's everything. It's everything. Because if you understand that this is, as they were trying to explain, that this is all just a game, that we're trying to use this game to remember who we are inwardly. Because when you die, and we're not, believe it or not, we're at a stage where we are entering what's called the age of miracles. And the age of miracles, we will start to see the reversal of aging. We will start to see the elimination, eradication of diseases. We are going to see wealth defined differently. The abundance of wealth is going to be enormous for everybody. This is going to be a time where the tables are going to be flipped right side up again. And if the people can take the time to listen to you carefully, and for you to help guide them within, so that, and you know how difficult that can be, because we've had many conversations, you and I, about trying to go deep inwardly, and stop being on the metaphorical boat with your telescope looking out at the island and letting everybody else move forward, and you telling them, okay, let me know how it is when you get there, then I might join you. You have to do this now. And you say, well, there's free will, isn't there, and all this? Yes, there is, but go for the ride, because the free will is letting go of everything that you used to believe defined you, everything that you defined as health, everything that you defined as wealth, everything that you defined as wisdom. All those things now are being redefined. And who's redefining them? You. Every person that's listening, everyone who whether or not they may realize this, it's resonating with them. We are at a huge point in humanity. You're just seeing the outside stuff. Everybody's just seeing the outside stuff. They're not seeing what's happening inwardly. Everything that is happening outwardly is already happening inwardly. So there's this expression, I think, so above, down below. Do you remember that expression?
Yeah. As above, so below. But you say, as below, so above.
Yes. Okay. That's the beauty of the game. It gives you contradictions so that it keeps you off your game. Okay, but this fourth dimensional energy is going to change that. Every person, I don't care of what persuasion, of whether or not they are convinced that they know exactly or don't know exactly, but that metaphysics isn't part of it. Every person is going to go through a massive awakening in the next few years. I mean, massive. I mean, Lois, you know what I'm talking about, because well, I kind of warned you were going to go through it, and you did, and you are, and it's huge. It challenges everything that you believe to be success.
And if I can, I'd like to explain that and give a real practical example, but also a couple of client examples, so that you guys have some framework and context. Okay, so just give me like 2 minutes, Franco, just to reiterate.
Oh, it's your show. Go for it. I'm going to sit back and listen to you.
And just by the way, guys, we're going longer today. Still, please hit the share button if you're just joining us. And of course, if you have questions, comment below. I'm sure Caleb, Franco, myself,
Yes.
we're all here to support you, because even though some of this might be going over your head a little bit, there's going to be something that resonates, and it might hit you square in the eyes. You're like, whoa, this is huge. I need to know more. Ask the questions. Okay. So when I met Franco, I was really stuck. I was a binge drinking workaholic, for context. And I was really actually hurting. I hated myself. I had been through so much triggers for 14 years. I held on to fear. I held on to, the push that he was talking about. I held on to things that had really, again, had been my choice coming into this. I call it meat suit, but I like Avatar better. So we're going to go there. So when I chose to came in as Lois, I chose all of these contracts with all of these souls and all of these opportunities. Just like Shakespeare said, the world is a stage and we're all merely players. There's no accident. You married the person you married. We still have free will. So I know it's a little bit esoteric, but at the same time, I chose these life events that caused me to be homeless, and I put my self-worth and value on how much money I made. And so I lived with this bag of shame, guilt, just not loving myself for 14 years. So by the time Franco came along, I was just kind of like a walking zombie. Sure, I was making lots of money, but I was dead inside. I thought I was going to be divorced. I had gained 30 pounds since my father died, mostly due to alcohol. And I had stopped working out. I had shut down my creative side. I got rid of all music in my life, working out. And I was just like hamster wheel, one foot in front of the other. Didn't have a relationship really with my kids for several years because I was work all the time, out of the house. And so when he came along, I was one broken puppy, and he reminded me to go within. He reminded me we have the right and the left side of the brain. And I forgot about that creative side, that love and compassion side, that intuition, that imagination. and faith and all the things that he writes about in his book. And so slowly, ever so slowly, I got to pick away, and it wasn't an overnight success. However, I started noticing the same thing in my clients. Like people were like, "Oh, I got to work 15-hour days, and got to sign up for this class, and I got all left brain stuff, by the way, logic, numbers, and coming from a wounded, I call it wounded masculine, wounded left brain of that push, which has been pushed on us from society. So this is a collective issue, right? I realized, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I started waking up and the veil was starting to lift, and then I started to slow down. I started to go inward. I started to slowly have a healthier relationship with alcohol. I slowly changed my work schedule. I slowly, I just unpacked all of these, what he calls 3D, which I also known as Earth School, also known as subconscious wounds, is what I call it for my clients, just for sake of simplicity. We all understand subconscious wounds from Joe Dispenza and all of the gurus, right? that talk about the brain. And I realized I had been stuck up here also and not in my heart space. So by unpacking and purging a lot of that 3D energy, the wounds, the pain, the trauma, the stuff that was holding me down, quite honestly, then I started to find joy and love and bliss ever so slowly. Then I healed my relationship with my husband and children and so on and so forth, lost the 30 pounds, and, actually enjoying life, joined a choir, all of these things that, again, took a full 18 months. I just want to help you recognize that. So now my clients, same thing, unpacking their true nature and purpose, going within, inside of my subscription and membership community, which Franco is also one of the teachers inside of that, going for their truth, know thyself, going for what is, why am I here? Who am I really? Which I know Franco talks a lot about, and starting to love themselves. I wanted to bring up love and compassion because that's one of your passions too, Franco, and what you and Caleb are bringing back is this immense light energy that's coming into our body. Sure, it's going to hurt and suck and be painful, and you're going to go through all of the things that I went through, but it's meant to just get it out. I've had physical changes, physical recodes. Like even last night, I'm like, I think I slept, but I felt like I got a massive workout. Like all of these things are happening for us. If you're not waking up, though, if you're not conscious, right, Franco, it's going to be really, really painful and really, really hard.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head of the nail, because it's this reason why people are experiencing various stages of awareness, even if it's just a very subtle one of, something seems to be inherently wrong. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there just doesn't seem to be something right about all of this.
Or I'm bad for feeling these things. I want to throw that in there because that's where a lot of my shame come from. I must be a bad person for this stuff to be happening to me. I must suck. I am worthless. All of those lower vibrational things that, have permeated around because of dogma and because of a lot of reasons.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because I will tell people that, so not every, just to finish that point that you were making about the pain, not everybody's going to experience the pain the way that, say, you have gone through it or others have, myself included. I write about that a lot in the book. We did that because we have this sort of contract that we have signed that we wanted to come here to help people wake up. And so you can't do that unless you experience as much of every element of what they're going to go through, so that you can speak to it yourself. Okay. But there are other people, many, that will just purely awaken to their higher self and really kind of bypass a lot of that pain because they've been able to easily release it. And they've become aware of the fact that they can just let go of the emotional ties that they've had to all of these thoughts and experiences that they had in what we call the past. And those people, the beauty of that is that they kind of bypassed those those painful experiences. The challenge for them is that they go off into so many different areas of their consciousness that they need to be deeply rooted back into why they came here. So that's something that some people will experience. A lot of people will just do that. They'll just bypass the pain, but they still need to be cognizant of the fact that they are here for the purpose of waking up all of themselves as well as other people. So that's one thing. The other thing that I really want to make it clear is that we don't need to live on the fear-based reality of the past. So we're at a point now. We're at a point, everyone, even the people that are listening. I tell people now that by virtue of them listening to this, their lives have now drastically changed. It isn't because I changed their lives. It is because the words and the emotions and the feelings that we're expressing in this conversation are resonating in their space, and it's like genetic coding. They are now going to experience a new reality. It is unavoidable. People are going to now, they're sort of getting seeded into this new awakening. And that's something I wasn't able to say before, but now I can confidently say that everyone who is listening is going to go through a massive awakening, whether it's a blissful one or whether it's a painful one. That's where your free will comes in. And so for those who choose the painful side, that's, I think, where what we have done, Lois, in going through our own sagas will help others to get through that much faster. Because the beauty of it is, whereas it took me 50 some years to get to where I'm at, and it's taking you 18 months and plus many, many, many years of your own self-torture, this is now speeding up very fast. And as I mentioned to you 18 months ago, what you're going to do in a year or two is going to be what I did in 4 or 5 decades, and what people are going to experience in the next 6 to 12 months is going to be as what you did in the last 18 months to 2 years. So everything is speeding up really, really, really fast. And people are going to need some sort of guidance, a light post like you or others, to help them see that they shouldn't be shamed or feared into thinking that something bad is happening, because everything that's happening now is a purging of all that heavy third dimensional energy and bringing in this lighter fourth dimensional energy of awareness, and then the fifth dimensional energy, which is right around the corner on December 21st of this year. This huge portal, fifth dimensional energy, comes in, and what they told me this morning, and they're really trying to come through again, but I'm holding them back because because I haven't quite figured out how we do this routine together quite yet. But it's like, and I'm not a biblical person. You know that I'm not a religious person. There's just no religion in the afterlife, if you want to call it. There's no such thing as that. So what I want to do is use it as a context, a point of context, as a point of reference. That in the biblical sense, there is this talk about the Holy Spirit that comes in. Okay, that's fifth dimensional energy. That's God consciousness. That's what we call God consciousness. This is what they call absolute awareness, where things go from you're now viewing things differently, experiencing things differently, becoming that difference to what you now know yourself to be complete and absolute magical. That's why we're getting into the age of miracles. All of these things, supernatural, natural, technology, all you name it, it's just going to be mind-boggling. So people have to be aware of that. That's coming in because they're grappling with their third dimensional energies and trying to let go of that. And they have to let go of that. You cannot receive fifth dimensional energy at third dimensional levels, because it's kind of like my computer that I'm working off of right now, right? It's got third dimensional programming. And I'm having trouble now accessing all of this advanced stuff that is now being programmed into the internet and all sorts of other programs and other equipment. And it's fifth dimensional. You cannot receive fifth dimensional energy at third dimensional levels. We're just at that point now. And I know people go, a lot of abstract. So let me talk about manifestation, where I think people like to really get juicy and really, because that people understand. And I'm going to talk about what they wanted to talk about, actually, because I had no intention of talking about this, the law of attraction. Okay. Because everybody's heard about the law of attraction, and they think that they know what it is. And they sit there and they do a lot of what I call, and what we call human doingness, right?
And I call it the flaw of attraction. When
The
they're in the
law of
doingness, it's
attraction.
the flaw of attraction. Yeah.
Yes. So I want, to kind of get all of these things we've talked about now, whether people want to embrace it or not, if they're ready to, or they, what have you, all of these things are happening or behind the scenes. And eventually I promise everybody who is listening, whether they believe it or not, you're going to know this stuff in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. What I'm saying to you, you're going to go, oh yeah, been there, done it. Okay. That's how amazing this is going to be. And yet, so I'm going to talk to you about the simplest and most exciting thing that people have spent a lot of time and talking about, and that's I love the flaw. I don't know if you came up with that, but that's a really cool term.
I can't take credit. My beautiful friend Brennan, this happened. I found this flaw of attraction concept when The Secret came out and I was homeless, right? And everyone was like all about The Secret. Just watch The Secret and all of a sudden you'll be a millionaire, right? And I watched it. That didn't happen. I mean, my girlfriend, who was also essentially homeless, meaning we just couldn't pay rent anywhere. We were sleeping on floors, futons, wherever we could find a place. And she said, yeah, it's the flaw of attraction,
It's such a good term. You might want to trademark it, because it's a really good term, because this is where people get discouraged. But the good news is that here again, that energy is resonating everywhere. In fact, I have to really stress this. Everything that you are currently experiencing, everything that you are currently creating in your reality, and I'm not just talking you, Lois, but the people who might be listening to this now or down the road, everything, including this conversation, is a creation of your mind. Okay, it is, you are actually doing the law of attraction every single moment of your existence, every single moment. The thing is that we've never been told that, right? Because if we were told that, then it would be game over. No need for this reality anymore. We wouldn't exist in the context of duality the way we do right now. And that was all intentional. We won't get into that part, and it's not about Illuminatis or any of that. That's not it. But it's just that there's too much to discuss there. But understand that everything, every single thing, your chair, your desktop, your body, is all being created instantaneously by your mind, instantaneously. And the only one creating that is you. Okay. But here's the thing. You have to have what I believe is not what you have to have, at least in function, 2 of the 12 attributes that we talk about in the book. Okay. And you mentioned them already: imagination and faith. Okay. Those are the essential ingredients to create your reality. Okay. Because if you cannot, and then there's more, there's actually another piece that I'll talk about. Okay. If you can, so imagination, let me take a step back. Creation is built on 3 things: thought, emotion, and then some sort of action. But the problem is that this last piece of action gets misconstrued. Everybody thinks that this action thing means, to your point, working 15 hours a day, giving up one thing in order to get another thing. And I went through this process. You've gone through this process. Everybody who's been extremely, extremely successful in some way, shape, or form have gone through this process. And thank goodness, many of them are now starting to realize that that wasn't the process, because they lost everything else that was important to them in their lives. Okay. But nevertheless, we define action as having to do something, a lot of work, a lot of physical work. When what really is required is a lot of mind muscle. Okay, it's this whole idea that you have to really be in the moment of that imagination or that thought in order to really make it happen. Because when you do that, you create a resonant effect. Now, this isn't spiritual, okay? If anybody wants to, tune off to this because they think it's spiritual, I will assure you that there are sciences, astrophysics and quantum physics and neuroplasticity and epigenetics. These are advanced sciences that are getting this now. They're realizing that there is a lot of truth to this. And so you have to create a resonance. And what does that mean? Imagine, like in music, you have a pitchfork, okay?
Mhm.
It creates a resonant sound. It will attract another pitchfork.
It's a
And it
tuning fork. It's a tuning fork.
excuse
Just
me,
pitchfork
not a
is
pitchfork. Yeah, right, right. You're not, I'm thinking too much of Halloween. We're out in the farmland area. So a tuning fork. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So you've got these tuning forks and they resonate energy. They resonate a frequency.
Well, it's also like my background.
Yes, it's exactly like that. It's exact, and that's exactly, if I may, that's how I communicate with people when you're coaching somebody and people ask me, how do I resonate with somebody? I literally resonate to their frequency, to not their physical frequency, but their etheric frequency, which is their spirit. Okay, so that's why I always tell people I communicate directly to their soul through their higher consciousness. But we all can do this because it's just frequencies. And so the reason why people don't succeed very well with the law of attraction in the way that they wanted to, because they're succeeding every second of the day. They're creating all of this, but all of this is based off of a frequency of lower density energy called 3D, okay, that is fear-based. And it's all forms of fear-based: doubt, stress, anxiety, you name it, insecurity, whatever. All of these heavy energies create this world. Okay. And you're unaware of the fact that you're basically picking this information up, resonating it back to what we would call the universe. I call it the game because that's the way that they showed it to me. It's the game, and it just feeds it right back to you. And it's this constant back and forth through what would be known as a torus shaped kind of energy. But understand that you cannot consciously imagine what you desire, whether it's health or wealth, wisdom or whatever, until you consciously start to imagine the world that you want to be in, that you consciously have faith in yourself so much that you know that you can live in that space, and you stay in that space, that you are actually already in that reality. Um, there's a lot of metaphysics to this, but when you do that, that moment that you do that, you have created that reality. But it's not in the physical yet, because you have to create a beacon, a message, a frequency that has to keep playing itself out in order for the universe to pick it up and go, oh yeah, okay, I guess this person wants this, or what have you. Now, there's ways to speed that up, but what I'm trying to get at to people is that if you think that you sit there and you go, okay, I want to be a millionaire and I'm going to vision myself with a lot of cars, and you're not actually really in that moment of experiencing the happiness that you are actually having. Because ultimately, as we talk about in our subscription piece, happiness isn't about getting the cars and everything. That's just sort of the path we've taken, the journey we've taken to get ultimately to the state of happiness. You have to be happy in the vision that you have. You have to have faith in it. You have to use a lot of imagination in it. And then you have to have the patience to practice it over and over and over. Then it resonates to this reality that will line up with it. Most people miss those first two parts. And if you miss those two first parts, you can't get there. I mean, you just can't. You're just going to keep creating the same reality over and over again. And I know that that's what you're trying to show people in what you're teaching them, because they can do in 1 or 2 hours of work what they used to have to do 15 hours of in their day, and spend the rest of their time being blissfully happy, creating abundance in other ways. And I can tell you from my experience, I used to be a 15-hour a day person. And now I literally am about a 2 to 3 or 4 hour a day person. And it's not just on one thing. I own a nutrition company. I'm writing a book. I'm doing podcasts and documentaries. And you wonder, how do you do all that? Well, I didn't know until I started experiencing, walking the walk, that this is exactly how you start manifesting your realities. But
You're
it
saying
takes a lot
too
of
is
work.
what I call is you're in your zone of genius, and it also reminds me of when I totally felt my best health, my best wealth, and best wisdom, even younger, like as a child, right? You don't have all these constructs of money and time, and you have the faith of a child, the imagination of a child. You can create anything, right? And we talked about the, again, not coming from a religious standpoint, but the kingdom of heaven is that pursuit of happiness that lies within. Heaven for me
Yes.
is that bliss, that love, that compassion, in my zone of genius. That's what I call as heaven. And when we talk about the kingdom of heaven lies within, and then if you
Yeah.
have that imagination, you have that faith of that vision, again, kingdom of heaven. That's, they say in the Bible, what, you got to have the faith of a little child
Yeah.
to get into heaven, right? So that's what that really, in my experience and what you've taught me also, that's what that really, really means. And we forget about that as adults, really.
We do, and that's intentional again, because the way that the game was designed by our own design, because we are the creators of the game, was so that we could, if we had all those pieces already in place, then the game would become boring pretty fast. But we decided to get rid of all of these things so that we could experience the contrast of ourselves so much easier. Even though it would seem very painful, it was easier. But the things that we used to take for granted, the imagination, you know, experiencing life through the eyes of a child, is exactly what we're supposed to be doing now. And when we do that, it is not hokey pokey. The imagination piece is a powerful, mystical tool. That it's basically a portal, and it allows you to go into places and past things that in lives that you used to be or are still, but you just have forgotten. And so a lot of this is abstract for people. I get it. But actually, I have been so surprised as I've been talking to more and more people, how many people are actually resonating with that discussion now. I mean, even people that have really little knowledge of this stuff can feel the truth of it and start to question it. And so again, it was one of the things that Caleb and company, they try to express in the first 5 or 10 minutes of this show, was that we have to let go of the past. I know as much as we've been taught that you have to explore the past in order to figure out what triggers all the things that are happening in your life, that just keeps the cycle repeating itself. And that was fine for the way the old game used to be played. But we're now in a much more advanced game, and that advanced game wants us to wake up. It wants us to wake up so that we can experience and become this magnificent spiritual entity that can create an entirely new universe. I mean, an entirely new universe based on a consciousness that now uses duality as a companion rather than as a villain. And so if we stay in this victim mode for too long, we never get out of chasing our tails. We just never will. We always will find ways to sabotage ourselves. And this is really important for people who are trying to grow businesses, myself included, living off of past fears. And yes, those past fears, until you purge them out, and when I say purge, you don't have to do this painfully. Lois, you and I have done it painfully, but there are a lot of people that will do it and they'll just go, oh, all right, let it go. And they let it go. But they're
And there's
there. They're there like old programming. It's old
Yeah.
programming. And,
Well,
and
that's a good segue. I would like to make one quick announcement, then maybe two, and then we'll wrap it up. Is that okay? We've almost
sure.
gone for an hour, so that would be amazing. Because what you were talking about was purging, letting go. And I will say, for me, in that experience of learning how to purge and allow it to let go, because again, I was so stuck and holding on for dear life, right? Because of
Yeah.
trauma, all of these things. Talk therapy didn't work for me. Again, not putting that down. If it works for you, fantastic. Grief counseling also, in a lot of ways, just kind of got it to dig deeper, but not get out. And so I've created Healthy and Wealthy and Wise subscription for the general population. And I've also created the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise membership community for sales people, because I am a sales coach right now. I'm a transformational sales coach who actually is wanting to prepare you, equip you for this 5D ascension, which I know we didn't really get into. If we did that, we'd probably spend another hour.
Yeah.
And maybe you can give some closing thoughts about what you see happening in December, and maybe we could close there if you feel okay with that. But whatever comes through is perfect. But I have a vision, and Franco's inside, both the subscription and the membership community. They're both monthly subscriptions. One is just, again, for the general public. One is for salespeople. So there's more lead generation tactics. I'm going to be talking about 5D sales inside of that community as well. And so my vision is to help empower, equip you to be seen, be heard, live your best health, your best wealth, your best wisdom of knowing thyself in 2023. So I want to help 1,000 people become subscribers and have a container, a safe container where there's at least one class a week where you can actually purge in class. Like, that's what I've created for you because of all of the things that I've learned, all of the pain, the trial, the tribulations. I wish I would have had this, 2 years ago. And so I'm like, I'm going to create it because I see so many people tending to go towards the harder route because they were in the same space as me, stuck in the analytical mind. And to your point, it doesn't have to be hard. So if you want to consider joining us, I have all of this links in the show notes. And especially since we talked about money and manifestation, if you become a subscriber, this 5-day Heal Your Relationship with Money challenge is inside of my member vault. And you can have it as long as you're a member and repeat it, rinse and repeat. Let go of the past. We went through mother, father wound, ancestral wounds, life event wounds, the things that we chose coming into this contract of our life to experience the duality of the abundance of the poverty and whatever else you want to call it, so that you can let it go. Just let it go and let love flow through, because that's what it's all about, is love, compassion, and connectedness. So any closing
Wow.
thoughts?
Wow. I just listened to you, and I hope that people get the same feeling. This isn't me being, like just trying to, sell your subscription. That's a perfect way of describing what this is all about for people. A lot of people may not necessarily feel like they can go there, but the beauty of what is going to happen, whether you feel you're ready or not, is that when fifth dimensional energies do come, even though you cannot receive them until you kind of get rid of all the third dimensional energies, you will still feel them. They will still be there and percolating all that third dimensional energy out of your system so that you can start to see things more clearly. And when that happens, there's going to be a lot of confusion. There's going to be a lot of, what's going on in my life? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I acting this way? Why am I feeling depressed or anxious and stuff like that? All these feelings might come through. Or like I said, you might get some of the blissful ones who just really fly away and have to sort of be pulled back a little bit to understand, why am I here? Because everybody still has that question. Why am I here? So in the fifth dimensional energy that comes, that is what's going to happen. There's just no more time anymore. It's a celebration of who you are as spirit. You have lived thousands and thousands and thousands of lives. And I know, again, here this kind of tests some people in terms of their belief systems, but I'm not really speaking to their analytical mind. I'm speaking more to their soul. They are going to get this. And it's time now to celebrate, because this is the time that so many have talked about. So many have talked about this time. Probably the most popular ones were the Mayans. This is the time where we are going to ascend into a higher level of consciousness. Everything that we ever thought was imaginable, and everybody has had these imaginable thoughts. Everything, the euphoria that we always imagine heaven to be is now going to be, as they say, on earth. There's not going to be this separation of the two worlds, and it's not going to be 500 years from now. It's going to start happening very, very soon. So for people who are going to need that guidance, what you just said summed it up perfectly. It's a safe place to allow yourself to decompress and realize that what you're going through is this amazing, beautiful awakening of who you really are. You do not have to die to experience heaven on earth anymore. That's what's coming. And it's so mind-boggling that you have to take it in little dosages, which is what your subscription program is all about. Take it in little dosages so that you understand and appreciate how to manifest with others the world that is about to come. So it's a really exciting time. And I tell you, a year ago, I couldn't have said that publicly because I would have doubted myself, even myself. But now it's just unreal how many people are talking about what's about to happen, and it's going to come. So whether we're ready or not, it's going to come. So just buckle up and enjoy it. And we'd love to see you in that subscription community, because it's going to be cool to share that experience with other people.
I'm almost thinking of changing your class title from Pursuit of Happiness to Pursuit of Happiness, How to Avoid the Flaw of Attraction. What do you think?
I love it, because people, seriously, I think people are so hung up on the law of attraction that because of the way that's been taught to them, and they haven't really fully appreciated that they're doing it already. They're just I always tell people the number one thing that you came here to do was to wake up. And everything else will come from that. Every passion that you've had, everything that you've always wanted in terms of the definition of abundance, whether it's wealth, health, or whatever, it's coming now. It's coming, but you still have to raise your awareness to the point of being able to receive it. Otherwise, it's going to take you much longer to join the party. And why? I mean, why? Why would you want to stand outside of a party when you can go in it and enjoy it? So
I'm all about the party.
Yeah. So no, I hope this has been helpful for people, because I know it can seem abstract and esoteric, but there is so much more to life than just measuring it by the success of financial means. It is that is important in this world. I will tell you, in the world that's coming, it will be far less important, because you'll be able to manifest it like that. So, but until then, we need a bridge, and that's what we're trying to do for people.
I love it. I love it. It's making me think of the old Judd song, "Love Can Build a Bridge." That's what we're here for, is to help you with love and compassion, be able to cross over that bridge so it doesn't feel scary, murky, and all of the things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well,
And to experience happiness. I mean, I've mentioned that before, and that's why the segment's called Pursuit of Happiness. It's not a pursuit. That's a kind of a twist of words, but it's about happiness. We want to experience this form of love because ultimately we want to be happy. We think we want wealth because we want to be happy. We want this or that because we want to be happy. Happiness is a mixture of love, peace, and freedom at a very blissful level, And that is exactly what we strive to do here. And that's what the game wants us to do now. It's over. The schooling is over. It's time to graduate and experience what we've worked so hard for thousands of years to do. So, come on and join us. Let's go. It's just the more the merrier,
Yeah, it's exciting times. And I can say that with love and grace. And like you a year ago, yeah, I would not have said that. Even maybe 6 months ago, I might not have said that. Things are happening. Things are rapidly shifting and changing. So thank you so much,
Thank
Franco.
you.
Love.
They are very grateful for the opportunity to speak. When I did the book just quickly, they wanted to speak way more in the book than I felt I could really handle. So at the end of the book, they had the last say. And I still, as somebody who knows how to channel, I'm still trying to figure out that happy, no pun intended, medium where we can do this and do it in a way that doesn't go too over many people's heads. So we appreciate the opportunity to have experimented that here today as well. So thank you so much.
Yay. All right, guys. Again, if you saw value in this show, please hit the share button with your community. And I'll throw this out there too. If you're like really wanting to know more on a deeper level, on a one-on-one level, go to bookacallwithlois.com and book a time with me. And I'm happy to do a one-time kind of like exploration of what this might mean for you and specifically in your sales career. However, like I said, my one subscription is designed for the general public. I've got corporate America people in there. I've got stay-at-home moms in there. I've got unemployed people just trying to figure out their next step, and their people who are, pushing retirement and all of that kind of stuff, because everyone is, like Franco said, feeling the energies, wanting to wake up and not necessarily knowing how. So until next time, guys, here's to your best health, your best wealth, your best wisdom. I know there's a lot of energies moving through, so just be kind and gentle with yourself. And we hope to see you again soon. And again, hopefully join us inside of the subscription. All right. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.